Because the demons asked Jesus for the pigs. The fascinating story of Jesus casting out the legion of demons into a group of pigs is found in Luke. The story begins as Jesus was traveling in the mountainous region east of the Jordan River. This is the predominantly Gentile area of the Decapolis, as Gentile cities of the wider region. Then they sailed to the garrison country east of Galilee. Now, when Jesus disembarked, he was approached by a man from the city of Judea, possessed by demons for a long time. He wore no clothes and did not live in a house, but among the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he felt particularly like a deep voice from the depths of his throat, and fell before him in dread and terror. He described aloud what we have in common. Jesus, Son of the Most High God, I beg you, do not torment me before the time appointed for judgment. By this time Jesus has already. He was ordering the unclean spirit to leave the man because he had violently grabbed him several times, and he was under guard, tied with chains and handcuffs. But he broke the bonds and was limited by the demon to the desert. But before continuing with the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video, and leave your like. It's very important for the channel, so let's go. Luke 8 verse 26 and 29. This is the month's in-depth description of a man than the control of a demon that we find in the Bible is the classic profile of demonic possession. For a long time Ma had been possessed by a demon. He wore no clothes and lived more like a wild animal than a human being. He did not live in a house. He was taken to the desert by the devil, contrary to Jewish law and natural human inclination. The man continued to live among the tombs, among the decadent and the dead. The man possessed supernatural levels of power, breaking his bonds. He was tormented to the point of destroying himself. Mark 5 verse 5. Night and day, he screamed constantly among the tombs and in the mountains, hurting himself with sharp stones. The man had uncontrollable strength because he was often tied with chains on his feet. And with chains he tore the chains and broke the handcuffs into pieces, and no one was strong enough to subdue and tame him. In Mark 5 verse, for this individual used to be a resident of the village along with the other inhabitants. However, due to his erratic and wild behavior of the people, they concluded that he was possessed by a demon. They chained him to prevent him from hurting other people, but he managed to free himself from the chains several times. In the end, they managed to expel him from the city, and he ended up living in the local cemetery, hurting the only person who could himself. The Bible describes that he was led by demons, just as a horse is guided by its rider or a ship is rowed by its crew. Also, we read that he met a certain man. This suggests that Jesus did not directly seek this man, but that the man was attracted by Jesus. The man could not free himself, but Jesus had complete authority over the unclean spirit. What do I have with you? I beg you, do not torment me. It was the demonic spirit within the possessed man, not the man himself. The demon did not want to leave the body he inhabited. Demonic possession occurs when a demonic spirit, it resides in a human body, and sometimes its own personality through the personality of the host body. Although demonic possession is a reality in today's world, invites caution not to ignore the problem, nor place excessive exaggeration on supposed demonic activity. We are not told how a person becomes possessed by demons. Superstition, proven harmless occult games and practices, spiritualism, deception of New Age magic and other practices open the door to deception for the believer and real demonic danger for the unbeliever. People often get involved in the occult or demonic things because there is something there that seems to work. Unfortunately, it is someone in action, a demonic spirit. Demons want to inhabit bodies for the same reason that a vandal wants a spray can. A body is a weapon that can be used in your attack against God. Demons as well, they attack men because they despise the image of God and try to degrade and deform him. Demons have the same objective in relation to Christians, to tarnish the image of God, but their tactics are restricted in relation to Christians. Demonic spirits were disarmed by the work of Jesus on the cross, although he can deceive and imitate Christians by trapping them in fear and unbelief. Colossians 2 verse 15, when he disarmed the rulers and authorities, those supernatural forces of evil working against us, he made a public example of them, displaying themselves as captives in his triumphal parade, triumphing over them. Through the cross we read, I beg you, do not torment me. This was an ironic observation because the man was often afflicted by demons dominating him in body, mind and soul, but he thought Jesus could torment him. Luke 8 verses 30 and 33. So Jesus asked him what is his name, and he replied, Legion, because many demons had entered him. They continually begged him not to order them to go to the abyss. Now a large herd of pigs were grazing on the mountain. The demon asked just permission to enter the pigs, and he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. What is your name? To gain authority over the demon and free the possessed person. Jewish exorcists of the time needed to know the name of the demon. However, Jesus did not use the name he learned. In this exchange, he had authority over demons that went far beyond the superstitions of the time. Jesus probably said the name of the demon to understand the full scope of the problem, knowing that the man was filled with many demons, not just a normally Roman legion. It consisted of 6,000 men. This suggests that the man was possessed by a large number of them. They begged him not to order them to go out into the abyss of the demons that inhabited this man. They did not want to be imprisoned in the abyss that is the bottomless pit described in Revelation 9 verse 11. Apparently it is some place of imprisonment for certain demonic spirits. Revelation 9 verse 11 states that they have a king over them, the angel of abyss, the bottomless pit in Hebrew. His name is Abaddon, destruction. Greek, he is called Apollon, destroyer. These demons did not want to become inactive. Although it is another hell for the devil to be idle or otherwise an evil busy, the demons came out of man and entered into swine. The idea that demons can inhabit the bodies of animals may seem strange, but this concept is also shown in Genesis 3. It was also expected that these demons would be cast into pigs. Note that demons cannot even afflict swine without God's permission, as a demon cannot enter even swine without being sent by God. How small is the power of their malice, to be feared by those whom God has as his protection and protector. Satan, he prefers to afflict pigs rather than do no harm. He is so passionate about evil that he would even work it on animals if he couldn't do it on men. Jesus allowed this because the moment of full demonstration of his authority over the demons had not yet arrived. Triumphed over them in his work on the cross. Colossians 2 verse 15 states, when he disarmed the rulers and authorities, those supernatural forces of evil working against us, he made a public example of them, displaying themselves in a triumphal parade. Having triumphed over them through the cross, the demonic spirits caused the herd of pigs to act erratically, causing them to run uncontrollably down the experimental slopes towards the lake, where they ended up drowning. This demonstrated the destructive power of the spirits, who was like their commander Satan, whose objective is to steal, kill, and destroy everything. On his way, John 10 verse 10 says, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly until it overflows. This showed the true intention of these demons. They wanted to destroy man just as they destroyed the pigs. Some thought that this was unfair to the pig owner, but the pig owners lost their property and learned from this how Jesus valued man's life more than a flock. Luke 8 verse 34 and 37. When the shepherds saw what happened, they fled and reported the city and the countryside. The people went out to see what happened. They went to Jesus and found sitting next to the man whom the demons had. Jesus' feet came out dressed and in good conscience, mentally healthy, and those who saw it were frightened. They told them that the man possessed by demons had been healed. Then all the people from the region of the Gerasenes and the neighboring district, they asked Jesus to leave because they were filled with fear. So Jesus got into the boat and returned to the west side of the Sea of Galilee. They were afraid and were overcome with great fear. They became more scared with a freed man than with a possessed man. They were terrified to see the man in his right mind sitting at the feet of Jesus and were not sure what to do according to their superstitions. The devil should have had the upper hand over Jesus, but he had no problem accepting it. Then the whole crowd asked Jesus to leave. It seemed they didn't mind having this possessed man tormented among them, but they did mind having Jesus around, so they asked him to leave, and he did so. The work that Jesus did had gathered the whole crowd, and everyone gathered to talk and meet Jesus. However, this was not a positive development in no way. Here was a whole town in a prayer meeting praying against their own horrible blessing. It was their prayer, but it was heard, and Jesus left their land. When people are more afraid of what Jesus will do in their lives than that from what Satan is doing now, they often drive Jesus away, and he can leave if asked. Luke 8 verse 38 and 39. But the man from whom the demons had left continued to begging pleadingly to go with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, go home and tell about all the wonderful things that God has done for you. So the man left, proclaiming throughout the city the great things that Jesus had done for him. The man whose demons had come out. That is a wonderful name. Perhaps for the rest of his life this man would be known by a name that remembered Jesus' great work for him. Initially, this man, before possessed by demons, they sent themselves to the feet of Jesus, but then they just wanted to be with Jesus, indicating him as a disciple. Luke 8 verse 35. The people came to see what happened. They came to see Jesus, and they found the man from whom the demons came out sitting at the feet of Jesus, dressed and in his righteousness perfectly mentally healthy, and were frightened. This man's longing for Jesus is an illustration of the change that occurred in his heart before he was. I was just interested in what Jesus could do for him. But after his encounter with God, he won Jesus for himself. Jesus, however, rebuked him and told him to go away. Even though the man had a good reason for wanting to follow Jesus, Jesus was aware of that the ministry he was doing for his own family and community had so much more meaning than any other work he was doing. Sometimes it can be tempting for us. Understanding the way God operates this prayer, naturally the reasons for this are due to the fact that this man could be a light among the people who lived in these Gentile cities in a way that Jesus and his disciples could not. It could be if he was afraid, and I feel immoral, that he had that the demons could return, so of course he longed to be with Christ. But Christ takes that fear away from him and just as good tell him, "You don't need to be near me. I healed so much so that you will never get sick again." He went and proclaimed throughout the city the great things that Jesus had done for him. This was a great testimony to share, and one that every follower of Jesus should be able to preach. His story showed the value of a life to Jesus, because that was the only reason Jesus came to this side of the Sea of Galilee. His story also showed that with Jesus no one is beyond hope, for if this man can be changed, then anyone can. Jesus told him to tell about the great things God has done, and the man told others about the great things that Jesus did. There was no contradiction, because Jesus is God. In this remarkable story, we witnessed the extraordinary liberation of a man tormented by the transforming power of Jesus over darkness. Even in the face of the miracle, the local community expressed fear, leading them to ask Jesus to leave. Respecting their choice, Jesus withdrew. However, the freed man became a walking messenger, proclaiming the wonders performed by Jesus in his life. His testimony echoes, reminding us that the work of Jesus transcends geographical boundaries, that we can share the good news of liberation and renewal found in Jesus, being bearers of light in the midst of darkness, that when we witness the transformation in our lives, let us inspire hope in those who have not yet experienced the power of God's redeeming love. In Jesus we find not only redemption, but also the promise of his transforming grace reaching everywhere. If you liked this message, share it with as many people as possible. Let's spread the word of God together. May God bless you. I'll wait for you in the next video. A big hug.